what everyone did in the class was pick one how-to, and you guys picked K. So how to avoid or discourage telemarketers. So you need to come up with instructions or recommendations on how people should avoid telemarketers. You need at least 6 steps, but you're going to have to write more than one command, more than 6, because in order to use direct objects and indirect object pronouns, you have to establish context, right? You can't just say, pass it to me, because you don't know what I'm talking about. I have to say, I could say pass the ball to me. You have to create a context first. So, if you're talking about a phone, you need to make sure you establish talking about a phone before you say, don't answer it, for example. So you need one direct object, meaning the thing that receives the action, one indirect object that receives the direct object. So pass, if you're saying, have your mom in the room and pass it to her, meaning the phone to her, your mom. If with the mom would be the indirect object, and then the double objects would be replacing the word phone and her, or phone and mom, so pass it to her. So whether you use those affirmative commands or negative commands, that is up to you. And then one negative command will naturally happen. So I'll show you my examples. How to get a good grade in my class. So prestar is the verb to pay attention in my class. Presten atención en mi clase. Dos, tomen buenos apuntes. Take good notes. And I needed to use a direct object, so I said study them. Estudienlos. Study them. There's your direct object. Remember, affirmatives, they attach. Tres, I establish context again. Each night, cada noche, estudien el vocabulario. Study the vocab. There's your context. No lo olviden. Don't forget it, meaning the vocab. Practiquen el español durante toda la clase. Practice Spanish during the whole class. No usen inglés. Don't use English. Háblenle con señora Becker fuera de la clase si tienes problemas. So speak with Mrs. Becker outside of class if you have problems. A little confusion happens with Spanish here because this is the indirect object, like talk to her, talk to Mrs. Becker. And in English, we don't use the pronoun her and Mrs. Becker in the same sentence. We don't say talk to her, Mrs. Becker, when you have problems. But in Spanish, we do. We have the indirect object, and it has to have that lay attached. No lo eviten, don't avoid her. So I've established again context that the lay is referring to Mrs. Becker. And le pasen la tarea a señora. Again, pass what? Homework, direct object. Homework to who? Mrs. Becker. The indirect object, direct object. Pass it to her on time, or don't pass it to her late. So I've had to establish that context with direct and indirect objects. The lay here is just accompanying the señora. Sean buenas hispanohablantes, be good Spanish speakers. So these are all in the ustedes command. I left it up to the class to decide if you're going to write your commands in the usted form or ustedes. Both are subjunctive, doing that opposite ending thing. It's totally up to you how you want to do that. So they brainstormed and started writing, and then tomorrow after the vocab quiz, I have big pieces of paper that we'll put our steps on and present to everybody on how to do things. So you really don't need that. That was how you picked how to avoid or discourage telemarketers. That's your job. So you have the rest of the hour to start working on that and ask questions if you need about direct object. It's been a year since you guys have learned them. So do you have any questions before you get started?
So since there's how would you do that since you either don't answer the phone or you say something to them to make them hang up, or
Right. So it's your recommendations. How do you avoid or discourage telemarketers?
so it's not necessarily steps. It's just
yeah,
how
it's
we
just
should
like
do it.
recommendations.
Okay.
Yeah. How to do that.